it's not every day that you get a chance to talk about some friends of yours. So let me talk about trenchcoffeeco.com, promo code ONESREADY. Jeff and Jerica, active duty, still serving, making great coffee out there, doing trench the troops, getting you discounts whenever you use our code. The Brazilian Cerrado is my jam. I get 2 bags a month, usually 3. I like coffee, especially when it's good. So check them out. Great people, and we're happy to have them on the team. Also, check out CardoMax. Sean Madsen and Zach Steinbach basically, they have a very, very big need for caffeine, hydration, immunity, and they created these little packets that you can use. You can dump in water. You can dump in some of those soda drinks as well, like the seltzers and stuff like that. Or you can get crazy with it and you can just take it straight. But you're going to want to chase her after that because it's going to get a little spicy for you. So that's CardoMax.com, promo code ONESREADY, get you a discount on all of their products. And then finally, you're going to want to check out Kevin Edgerton over at 18afitness.com, promo code the number 1 and ready, 18 Alpha Fitness. Kevin has been in the game for a very long time, and he will tailor make programs just for you based off of what your current fitness levels are, where you need to be in order to get ready for selection, whether it's Q course, Buds, AFSPECWAR, ANS, Ranger School, whatever it is, he's got you covered. And then basically he goes from where you're at to where you need to be and at what timetable and creates a plan for you. Probably using some of all that education and lifelong experiences he has, because he's got a lot more than me, because he's, gray beard and all that kind of stuff. So check him out, though. He knows what he's talking about. And Aaron's actually doing one of his programs right now. So for now, though, please enjoy this episode with Ramiro V-Speed Villalobos. He's a retired TACP, and he's working on some great stuff when it comes to Air Force Special Warfare transitioning for folks. All right, enjoy. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the ONESREADY podcast. You're in the team room, and you've heard us talk about, we just released Ivan Ruiz, where he's talking about transitioning. We've mentioned how important it is to take care of yourself, while you're in and while you're outside, whether you're separating or retiring. And so we decided to bring on a good friend of ours who is like completely invested in this, V-Speed, Ramiro Villalobos. Appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, man. My pleasure.
Yeah, man. So before we get into the great things that you're doing for the AFSPECWAR community, let's talk about kind of your background and where you got to where you are today. So you obviously are retired now with that sweet beard you got there, but
it's so good. I can't stop looking at it. Like it's bad podcast etiquette when they watch the YouTube. Everybody's gonna be like, what's Aaron looking at? I'm looking at V-Speed's beard and hair. Like, holy cow. Yeah. I know you were a controller, but geez, man, you got some PJ in you somewhere, bro. Like, let's go.
Yeah, I love it, man.
Well, tell us a little bit about your background and where how you came in the AFSPECWAR and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, golly, I grew up in North Carolina, junior in high school, and 9/11 happened. So I ended up joining. I was actually getting recruited to play college football, and ended up going and joining the military. So I did the North Carolina Army National Guard as a MLRS crew member. I was in that for I went to basic at Fort Jackson. I was doing like some OJT. Ended up graduating high school early. And for that first kind of like 8 months, I was doing active duty special something orders, ADSW. So it's a certain type of orders you get for doing recruiting and helping out with that. Because, I was 18 at that time. My spouse was pregnant with my first son or my first child. And, I was doing all that kind of stuff. But I noticed everybody that in the Army side of the house were saying, man, if I could do it over again, I'd go to the Air Force. And so I'm like, well, you guys have been in this for like 10, 15 years and you're saying that? Like, well, I'm going to find an Air Force recruiter.
Yeah. Right? You're like, I'm not wasting any of this time.
Yeah, like, y'all were saying this. Like, so I was looking at going 68 whiskey, going into medic. I've always had a soft spot for just the medical side. And I always thought it was pretty cool. Or I was going to go Air Force. So the first 2 recruiters I talked to, they're like, never going to happen. Not possible. And me being in the recruiting background, I was like, no, it is possible. You guys are just pretty much lazy and not want to help me out. But the third recruiter, he's like, yeah, dude, Yeah, why not, man? I'll get you signed up. I've already hit my quota, so might as well just go ahead and learn how to do this. So then, like, I would drive down to Charlotte. Lived up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I drive down to Charlotte. Spent about 15 minutes or so with this guy, this recruiter, and let me cross into the Air Force. So I came in. Initially came into combat control, and man, I loved it. It was awesome. I did my 2-week doc. At that time, my ex-spouse was pregnant, like I said earlier. He was due in January. So here it is September, and crushed doc, and they said, well, hey, you're type 3 for your wisdom teeth, so we're going to hold you up, and you're not going to go to ATC until January. I was like, okay, well, rock on. That sounds fine, whatever. Maybe go to airborne school, maybe go to SEER school in between there. I'm like, but my kid's due in January. Can I be there for his birth? They're like, nope. You miss more than 2 days, you're getting watched back.
Jesus. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
I was like, look.
Yeah. I was like, well, shit, man. I thought the whole reason the Air Force did better for families. Like, I get if this is deployment. I totally get sacrificing that, but this is training. And this is not even like hard training. Like, you're just doing push-ups, getting smoked, and all that kind of stuff like that. So, granted, it is hard, but whatever.
Yeah.
So, man, I was like, I've only quit 2 things in my life, and that was the second thing. The first one was wrestling. I mean, it was cool and all, but just rolling around with a dude on a singlet just didn't make sense anymore.
Hey,
So,
take it easy. Jiu-jitsu, listen, I am a practitioner of jiu-jitsu. It is the most manly thing in the world to get very sweaty with a dude and hug him as long as you can. So first of all, watch it.
Right. Okay. Completely crossed the line now. Yeah.
I identify as completely and totally straight. Don't you dare.
Okay. No, it's good, man. I just didn't want to wear the singlet. I didn't want to wear the singlet. And I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. Like, I'll be honest, I just didn't know what I was doing. My first wrestling pin, I literally just threw the guy around so much that he got so tired that I leaned back on his leg. I'm not even exaggerating. Straight up WWE. Yeah, it was a technique. But anyways, fast forward to that. I ended up getting cross-training into life support. I was like, okay, this is kind of medical. No, dude. No, it's not medical at all. It's wiping snot. Fortunately, I was blessed and happy enough to be part of rescue. So I was out of 55th RQS out of DM. And worked with those guys. I love the rescue community, and always have. Like, it's just a quiet professionals, just chilled, laid back kind of thing, but still willing to get after it. So cross over into that, man. I just got tired of sitting on the sidelines, though, like giving out helmets, hey, have a good flight, and everything else like that. I just wasn't built for a person on the sidelines. So go to cross training TACP. Took me a year and a half to cross train in TACP, and the quick Reader's Digest version of that was I went to go cross train out of Davis-Monthan. The retraining NCOIC was like, "Oh man, your prior service, nah, man, you can't go early. You gotta go like on point." I was like, "Oh, okay, sure, sounds good." So here I am in Balad, Iraq, and I'm like, "All right, today's the day where I can hit the button to cross train. Like, it's happening. Hit the button, boom, you're outside your window to cross train." I think this is October 06. I was like, "What?
Perfect.
Am I being punked here?" And so I was looking to go into TACP. I got the chance to meet some of the guys actually out here at Fort Carson on one of our TDYs up here. And, man, from October to March, guys, I was on the phone. Young Senior Airman V here talking to the audits and the AFPC and all that stuff. Like, I would just put it on hold and hear that one, like,
that's the most, I know exactly the hold music you're talking.
Ding, ding, boom.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, that's that fire. The second that somebody actually lays that down, like, get Metro Boomin on the phone right now. I need Young Gunna and I need 21 with a feature from Jack Harlow over.
It's awesome.
It's going to be
whoever did that. Nailed it.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I ended up, quoting their Air Force instruction, their AFI to them, and talking to some master sergeant. I was like, look, your AFI says this, but what you're saying is contradicting that. Like, why can't I cross train? She's like, you know what, Airman Villalobos, you're right. So the next day I had a class 8 for TACP. I'm like,
oh my God,
must have been part of some test or something that I really want to go into Air Force Special Warfare, Battlefield Airman, or whatever the term was back then. And that was back in 07. So, man, I cross-trained, hit the ground running, got MRSA. It was kind of funny. I got MRSA when I was there, and dude, I was not getting washed back. And so I ended up getting like that string gauze put in my thigh or whatever.
Oh yeah,
that was a fun look. There was a YouTube video floating around of me pulling this string like out of my thigh.
4 feet, 4 feet of impregnated gauze out of a gaping like wound in you. Dude, it's so gross.
And guys are all sitting around in my dorm room or whatever, just like staring and watching at it. It's actually pretty. anyways, ended up coming to Fort Bragg. I was there for 10 years. And then I got the congrats, you're going to be a PME instructor. And I was like, I didn't sign up for this. Like, am I getting punked right now? Dude,
Right.
I was calling all favors in, being like, hey man, like what the hell, dude? Like, can I get out of this? And so basically I was given this, like, yeah, you can turn down the orders. Absolutely. But thank you for your service. You can get out, GTFO. Or you can accept the orders, going to be a PME instructor with no bonus. And I'm like, I guess I'm going to be a PME instructor because I was at 15 years at that time. And
I guess I'll be over in the corner effing myself. Thanks for the help again.
Dude, it was, I was kicking and screaming, but once we finally made a decision, I was like, okay, I've got to own it. Like, we've got to own this decision and go down and execute. So, I didn't ruffle any feathers or no chip on my shoulder because I know we've all got in the PME world kind of like a bad rap of always being very, I don't know, honest and outspoken and speaking our mind kind of thing, right? That's how I see it. But, so we get down there.
There is nothing more disruptive at a PME than like one operator. The only thing that's more disruptive is two of them. Yeah, exactly. If you have two dudes in there that can start like, oh, this is dumb. This is not what it's like in the real world. And then the instructor throws out the classic question. Who here believes that awards and medals are important for people? And then it's over. It's over. Oh,
well, so I ran my insurgency there. I told my students, I'm like, hey, I'm running my insurgency. Like, I don't care about your rank. I don't care about your position. Like, if I can just help you be a better human, then you're going to be a better leader. You're going to be a better parent.
Nice.
You're going to be a better like spouse. You're going to be a better person in that piece. But man, we were down at Panama City. So locations wise, wasn't the worst. I was like, okay, 4 years, Panama City, white sandy beaches. Growing up in North Carolina, you got that brown muddy water. So I'm down there in the springs, like swimming in there, like scuba diving. And I'm like, this is incredible. We were there for a year and Hurricane Michael destroyed the base. So we were down there during the evacuation. So moved up to Montgomery, stayed in Montgomery for about 18 months, kind of worked myself out of a job. And I think that's where, once I stepped into that role and embraced it, man, it was really like Kenneth Lindsay. I don't know if you know Chief Kenneth Lindsay. I give him a shout out. So rewind this story real quick. He came to the 18th ASOG one day, and I think he was still in, but he's like, hey, what do you guys think about PME and DSD? And I was like, all the guys were like, nah, screw this, man. It's stupid, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. He's like, okay. He's like, all right. He's like, well, if you guys want to keep being, big leaders in this small pond, keep going at it. He's like, but if you really want to prove that you're a leader, go to a bigger pond and lead in that pond. And I was like, huh. And so whenever I got this whole thing, that his voice of saying that was always echoing, like, okay, do I need to be in my, as leader, how do I lean on this and grow from this? So, man, I worked myself out of a job out of the NCO Academy and ended up going teaching at the senior NCO Academy. And then things kind of helped out, played out that basically instead of doing the whole 4 years, the Air Force switched to 3 years. And I'm like, guys, like, I've been additional duty first sergeant. I've been the interim commandant. I've been the director of education. I've been the faculty director. Like, man, I am DSD'd out right now. Can I just go back to my career field, please? Like, I just want to go back.
Right. Yeah.
So we ended up coming to Colorado Springs and ended up coming up getting a flight chief. Probably the most rewarding time in my entire career was flight chief. And then did some ops soup. And then, just November of 2021 is when I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm retiring. It's kind of moving forward, moving on to the next chapter. And so that's kind of called up in, I don't know, 5 minutes or less, I hope.
No, you're good. It's not you're trying to pack, a 20 plus year career into, a 5-minute background. Like,
sure,
there's going to be some things that are missed. But man, not too bad. Panama City and Colorado Springs. Like, I'm not mad about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I guess the Colorado Springs is because, hey, listen, you did all the DSD stuff, you paid your pittance. All right, we're gonna hook you up because that's not a bad gig.
Yeah, exactly. So I do want to ask, like, there's always the question, and it's almost a cliche, but they say, when you know. So as you're getting towards the twilight of your career, you just said, flight chief and op soup was a great time for you. Was there a single moment where you're just like, you know what, I think this is enough. It's time to step away.
I would say a collection of a couple of those moments. I would say, I can definitively say, yes, there's one moment. So the flight chief, man, I just got back, it was 2020 when we signed into the unit. So we're coming out of COVID, getting ready to take over a flight. And, man, it was, these guys were awesome. But, it was one of those things where I'm sure like all the leaders getting people to come back to work and have that same tenacity to come back to work.
Yeah.
had 3 years of pent up training that I was ready to get out of. Like I was shit to kind of get on there and get after it. Right?
Yeah, no more ETPs, no more like working from home. Like, hey, let's get together in the team room. Like, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is hard training. Monday and Friday are admin days. Let's get back to a battle rhythm here. Yeah,
I'll share this real quick. My so as a director of education, you set the precedence for your class syllabus, right? You set the schedule and the timeline. And then as the first sergeant, I was more of a cubic zirconia. I was not a real diamond. It was more of that fake diamond, right?
I just appeared to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you are the approval and disapproval authority for people on profile coming to class. So, whenever I took over as director of education and Barn Center in Montgomery, I was like, wait a minute. I talked to the Barn Center, which is like the PME education, right? They're the ones that lead that. I was like, wait a minute. So as the director of education, I set the schedule. They're like, yeah. As long as you're meeting the intent of the syllabus, as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do, like you set the schedule, like, sweet, we're doing PT every day. So we started doing PT every day, guys. So Mondays and Thursdays were cardio. Tuesdays and Fridays was like calisthenics. And Wednesdays, I'm a yoga instructor. So Wednesdays, I taught yoga. And
you're just hold on. You're just gonna try to slide past that one. Yeah. So V, you're also a yoga instructor. You're a yogi.
Yeah, actually,
he's a yogi.
I opened up Cleared Hot Yoga at Fort Bragg. It was my yoga studio.
No shit.
Get out of here.
Yeah, dude, it was
awesome. Good for you. Joe Rogan said yoga is the only martial art that you do against yourself. You compete against yourself.
That's spot on, man. I tell that to people, especially whenever I have CrossFitters come in there. They're sometimes my best students because they are such in that competitive environment that when they get in there, I'm like, look, stop looking left and right and just stay focused on yourself and on your mat. And yeah, man. Yeah, I could go on that. That's a whole nother podcast like that.
All right.
But so like, dude, being the approval authority and disapproval authority, you get to find out real quick that these people that are like profile rangers, man, they will get off that profile in a heartbeat to be able to come to class because they would be there like, okay, PT is part of our day in our program and our curriculum here. So I don't want you to have an unfair advantage compared to your other peers. So you're going to have to come and show up and do PT. Well, I'm on this profile. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm like, well, okay, hey, get healthy. Get what you need to do to get healthy, and then we'd love to have you. But if not, maybe you can try another academy or another school, but you can't come here. And, man, there were some people, you'd see their PT scorecard, and it was like they skipped like 10 PT tests.
Yeah, just exempt.
Yeah, and which is against the AFI. And I'd have their first sergeant call me. And he's like, well, he's just a really good maintainer. I'm like, dude, I'm sure he is, man. But there's got to be a standard for a reason, like that kind of stuff. But anyways, man, it was a really exciting time. But getting back to that point, getting back into getting the guys like I would say from like January. I took over the flight in November in 2020, and then man, just getting the guys back into that fighting mindset, that mentality, like. Typical bump heads. They didn't like me. I didn't like them really much either. Until about March. And then they were doing, simple stuff like we'd have Apaches come and work with us. And I'd be like, all right, guys, hey, I'm getting my recert. I'm getting rehacked on my research. Any young guys, you guys want to go out? They're like, oh, no, man, I got to do like CBTs or something. I'm like, all right, we'll see. So going from that mentality, guys, to like they, fast forward to like April, where these guys are now like planning and executing full on missions. We started teaching them to do like the 5-paragraph op boards, writing that because we were seeing like
crazy, right?
The whole thing, and these guys were just getting after it and super proud of them, man. To a point where it was one of those things where I felt like I was passing on the torch, like getting and really passing it down to the NCOs and having the NCOs run things and make things happen. So I can't brag enough about these guys. Like super proud of them. And then. When I stepped into the ops super role, that's when it started getting a little bit more trying to take the same approach, but it was a little bit more touchy-feely to some degree because I had just different, competing personalities sometimes. And I remember coming in and to answer your question, I came in on a Monday and we were doing this whole training plan, right? And this big, massive year-long calendar training plan, that kind of stuff. And I came in on a Monday. I said, fellas, like with the leadership meeting, top 6 meeting or whatever, it's like, guys, we're going at this all wrong. Like, what the hell are we training to right now? I'm like, Afghanistan's closed. We've got this Poland stuff that's kind of quasi kicking off. You got the South China Sea kicking off. I'm like, what are we training to except for a currency? And really, that doesn't mean much shit anyways. I said, when I played high school football on Friday, we'd play our game. And then Monday, the first thing we'd do is we'd watch the tapes. And so we'd watch the tapes and watch the previous game and lessons learned, make fun of people getting laid out, that kind of thing. I'm like, but then we'd watch the tapes of the next team we're getting ready to play. And so, I played middle linebacker, and man, if that team was option and heavy on the option, I saw option play out on tape and in person and on the field against them practice like 20, 30, 40 times. Mm-hmm. I'm like, so by the time kickoff happened, man, it was almost muscle memory to be able to react to option and be able to get after it and do those things. And I was pretty much menaced on the field that way. I said, so our boys need to study our adversaries so intimately that if, they see the 163rd Armor Brigade, arbitrary number, not is made up or whatever, but they see the 163rd, they get intel on the 163rd Armor Brigade, they know, okay, I know their disposition, I know their tactics, I know what they're going to typically do, I know their composition of like their personnel, and then we can just kill them with efficiency and lethality. Hey, sir, I really like where your head's at, but we really need to get our radio inventories and our supply stuff taken care of. And I was like, yep, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like,
that's it.
I got a swims superintendent. I've got a swims NCOIC flight chief, and then I've got a supply NCOIC. I'm like, if those guys can't do it, why is me the operations superintendent for operations? Why should I be like burdened down with that? So that was one of the areas. The other thing too, man, just the promotion rates. It was kind of one of those things where, if the Air Force had warrant officers, dude, I would have stayed in another 10 years or so. Easily.
How dare you? Every single pilot in the Air Force right now just had, they don't know what's wrong, but they know something's wrong. You know what I mean? Like they can feel a disturbance. I've said this for, I don't know how many years, man. Like the warrant officer program, it'll never happen, right? The last warrant officer retired in the Air Force in 1994. So like that was the last time there was a warrant officer in the Air Force. I have said for years, man, like team leaders, ST team leaders should be warrant officers. You should be allowed to track over to be a warrant officer, and you never leave that team room, and you're a warrant officer. You don't go OPSUP. You don't go to a staff position. You don't go to these things. You allow a space for a person that wants to be a lifetime operator and a subject matter expert, a technician, tactician. You allow them to stay there and do the heavy lifting of being a sled dog without putting them at a director of training instructor school in the prime of their career at E6 when they finally figured out what they're doing. So hard agree, my friend.
Yeah. Well, the thing too, I had my degree, and I even when I was young, PFC Villalobos running around, like I wanted to be an officer, man. It'd be like cool to be an officer and that kind of stuff. But as I like started watching and studying the officer corps and studying everything, I was like, no, I'm pass. Man, I would even have these conversations with my flight commander. I was like, bro, what do you want to say? And I'll go say it because I'm the senior NCO, and what are they going to do? Like, nothing. And most of the time, if I say it with tact and poise. And if I ruffle some feathers, I'm doing it on purpose. I'm not like doing it just emotional, but I'm doing it to get my point across. And most of the time, it's like, senior NCO, they're being disgruntled, they're being loud and boisterous, right? Versus if he was a major at the time. If he had said anything, dude, he would have gotten crushed. His career would have gotten over.
He'd have gotten fired.
He would have
they could. You'd have just gotten talked to. You'd been talked to before.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, so we get to the end of your career and like it's time to step away. Like everything's cool. So now you come to a place that I am very well entrenched in. But like you start thinking about, okay, well, no kidding, what's next? And I was telling before the podcast, Peaches and I kind of had a conversation this week where you kind of like look up and you're like, holy crap, I am way closer to retiring. I'm way closer to getting out of the military than I had ever imagined. So as you started to make that move and that transition, what were your initial feelings? Like, did you feel prepared? Did you feel like you had everything in order? Did you have a clear path through?
Brother, the best way to describe it is ignorant confidence. I had some ignorant confidence, man. Like I know I can do something. What's that?
It's a great term. Ignorant confidence. That's fire.
Yeah. It's like, I know I can do something, but what the hell am I going to do? Like, what does this look like? Right. And it's this point right here, what we're talking about, this phase, man, it's such a crucial point, especially for our senior leaders to understand this. Like it's confusion. It's a little bit of doubt. It's a little bit of insecurity. It's a little bit of excitement and joy. And it's a lot of different things. So probably the worst thing you could say to somebody is like, oh, you're quitting on us. It's like, no, dude, I've given away my youth. I'm an inch shorter. Like, no, I'm not quitting on you. I'm not going to ride a desk. And if I am going to ride a desk, I'm going to get compensated for it. The worst kind of like, I came to fight Taliban, and apparently they're our allies now. I guess I don't know what they are. But like,
that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. Podcast, right?
Jeez. Take it easy, my guy. We're not trying to get demonetized on the first podcast of the day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's not get canceled right away, V-Speed.
Oh, yeah. We're gonna cut to a blackout screen, Wi-Fi.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm just gonna come up and be like, "Well, I'm sorry, we had some serious Wi-Fi issues, and we couldn't get V-Speed."
Oh,
yeah,
man, you're gone. Oh, look at that.
But no, too close to the truth.
Yeah, but no, guys, like, it's one of those. It's a pivotal person in a person's life, and so no, I didn't have a lot of different things. I had some good friends, though. Some really good friends had gone ahead of me, and they were helping me out. Kevin Laliberte was one of them. And Kenneth Lindsay was another one that spoke to my life. Mark Foster is a great personal friend and best friend of mine too. And then Tommy Case was a good friend that, he's Uncle Tom around here in the house, with the kids and everything. But, I had those things. And so as I started peeling this onion back and started like looking at that, Mark Foster saying things to me like, "Hey dude, this is now your mission. You need to focus on this." He's like, the unit's mission is going to continue on without you. And he's like, that's not a bad thing. So I had a lot of good men speaking life into me that I trusted and I appreciated. I think that's one of the things. I've always been coachable and willing to just kind of sit back, observe, and then learn from lessons, take in lessons learned from other guys, and go from there. And so as I started this journey, I got signed up. Kevin Laliberte got me signed up for the Honor Foundation. So the Honor Foundation, man, I tell you what, that is probably the reason why I did have such a successful transition, that and some other things. But primarily the Honor Foundation, I can't say nothing but great things about it, man, because I started that class in January of last year, late January. And again, just ignorant confidence, motivated, but I had no idea what I was doing. It was a 50-person virtual cohort. And as we started going through this thing, I reached out to Tommy and I was like, brother, like, there are just so many resources out here for us. Like, why do we not have this in one spot? Like, why are we not capitalizing this? He's like, well, sounds like to me you're volunteering to be the transition assistance officer for the association. I was like, sign me up, bro. Sign me up.
Here I am. Yeah. Wow. The curse of competence. Congratulations. This is what you get for having a good idea. You get to lead it.
Yeah.
I thought I retired. Well, it doesn't happen anymore, right?
We need you to serve. You're up.
I probably work more now doing that kind of stuff. Well, I worked pretty hard before then, but it's fun. So I did my initial assessment, right? And one of the things I brought back from PME was kind of like a quasi solutions kind of thing. I kind of kept my own version of the steps to solve problem solving. And the first step is always just do your initial assessment, assess the current state. Like what do we currently have? So at that time we had a Facebook TACP tap page. It was good. Shane Hobrick was the one who put it together, and with along a couple other chiefs. And it was good, not great. It lacked consistency. It lacked just a purpose, a function. There were some files on there kind of hidden in some of the other tabs, and it was a Facebook group, So I mean, it is what you put into it, kind of thing. So it's like, okay. So I ended up taking that thing, and Shane made me an admin. So I started trying to build that, garner that, and then I ended up building a website. TACP-tap.org. And on there, man, I just started laying things out. Okay, what are some of the things that I'm finding along the way, like Portraits for Patriots and a couple other different programs that are out there for us. The Honor Foundation, of course, I put on there, but there was another foundation called the Commit Foundation. And the Commit Foundation was more self-paced, CBT kind of based, but you also get an executive coach. And so I got an executive coach. I actually got two, one from the Honor Foundation, one from the Commit Foundation. And where the Commit Foundation was more, I still remember him. Gary's like, hey, man, my job here isn't to solve your problems. My job is to help you find clarity. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So just asking challenging questions like, describe to me on a scale of 1 to 10 what a 10 looks like in your personal finances after the military. And so just a lot of different talking points and learning points and thinking points to go, okay, what does that look like? Right. And man, I'm a big fan of Grant Cardone's 10X rule, and come up with other books like that where it's like, don't think minimalist, don't think small, aim big, and then if you miss, then you're going to at least go past what you would normally do.
Mm-hmm.
So I started putting that together, the Honor Foundation. So I call that phase one, right? So we got our website, we've got the actual Facebook group going and that kind of thing, and then I started doing some one-to-one coaching with guys. So I'd sit down for an hour, usually about an hour 15, hour 30, but I'd sit down with them for an hour and I'm like, okay, what's your biggest fear? What's your biggest rocks? What are things that are going on? And I'm doing this as I'm going through my own. So dude, guys, like, first off, I didn't know the rules about the skill bridge. I didn't know the rules about that. So my ETS date or my retirement date was 1 February 2023. So when I initially put my plan together, fellas, I thought I was going to be done March of 2022.
Nope.
I was like, dude, I'm going to take 6 months skill bridge. Then I'm going to take my terminal leave. Then I'm going to take my house hunting. And it's going to be, I'm done in March. And then,
my sweet summer child, V-Speed, you're out here all thrust and no vector. I love it. Let's go, bro.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. And then as I started to find, I'm like, oh shit, it's going to be it's going to be August. Oh, okay. Well, all right. Well, I'll figure this shit out. So luckily, with my unit, I was the interim ops soup. So the ops soup just got back from a deployment. And so he kind of took the seat back, and I'm like feeling like John Travolta in Pulp Fiction, like, hey guys, like, what do I do? I'm not getting a flight. Like, what can I do to help out the team? Help out the 13 ASOS team. They're like, hey man, just take care of your retirement. I'm like, okay, sweet. Like, do you need me to teach anything, do anything? They're like, no, man, just, you're good. Just focus on you. And I was like, okay.
Well, that's a really interesting thing. How did it feel in that space? Because that's sort of like a snapshot of like, that had to, like, I can empathize with this, where you look at it, you're like, no, man, just go take care of yourself. And then you're like, it's just stop. It's the last 20 years of me being a grown adult male in GWAT, go, constantly training, constantly doing FMPs and not just MOA cast, like how you said you are, like, and then just at one point they're just like, nah, we got it, go. And you're just like, oh no.
Yeah. It felt weird. I followed it. I mean, obviously I tried to be like, well, I'm an evaluator, I'm an instructor. I can go out and give evals, or I can go out and do that. And so I had this cast trip put together in April, and they even brought some British friends over because they were wanting to come over out to Gila Bend. And so went down to Gila Bend. First week was with them, kind of helping them out and doing that kind of stuff. And then the next week was with my guys, giving evaluations. And the whole purpose of me getting greened up and getting recertified again and everything else like that was so I could give my guys evaluations. But I had some pretty solid techs starting to show up. Like, no, man, we got you, brother. Like, sit back and enjoy. Go, like, come down. I mean, granted, it's Gila Bend, so I'm not like going out on town.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, I don't know how much you're missing there.
Yeah. You're not. Yeah.
But you know what? It was, dude. I had such an incredible. And I told this to my commander, my SEL. I was like, guys, thank you so much, because I had such a good offboarding because of that. Where it was kind of one of those. Hey, just take care of yourself right now, and I know that's a rarity in this arena, because usually it's oh, you're quitting on us, or oh, another senior NCO roading it up, or something along those lines.
Yep.
I don't know that how much of it is that, people are quitting on you, or how much of it is also us going like, hey, I can still serve, I can still provide. I can appreciate the fact that, I'm retiring, but like, I still want to be in this thing, us lucky few kind of thing.
Yeah, I know. I was even saying, like, if a war kicked off, like a full on let's go and fight war, I would have re-enlisted right then on the heartbeat. Like, hey, sign me up. I want to go fight. No, that's spot on too. I think it was one of those where, it is a paradigm shift, right? Where it's like, okay, like, I've got to take care of myself. What does that look like? And luckily, so the Honored Foundation, they start off phase 1 with their approach is all about you. So you're doing a lot of learning about yourself, getting a lot of insight, doing some Gallup strength finders, doing some different things like that to learn about you. Phase 2 is when you start applying it, guys. And I highly suggest you guys get signed up for it. They do a thing where they do one night, you have 5 interviews. They bring in professional interviewers, and you get a 30-minute interview. And then, 20 minutes of that's the interview. 10 minutes is actual feedback. And what you're going to learn is you don't get a feedback, man. Like, there's no like feedback or like, oh, hey, your interview went great, or no, you kind of lack this. It's more, you don't hear anything from your interviewers. You just don't even know. And if you reach out to them, it's usually like, oh, why are you reaching out to me? Like, I'll call you whenever I want to talk to you, kind of thing.
Right. And I'll tell you what, this has been a thing, and watching it happen and having a little bit of experience with it. You have this thing. It's like that ignorant confidence that you were talking about. You're like, listen, man. Yeah. Like, I give briefings. I talk to people. It's a different language. Interviewing is a different language, and trying to communicate what your skills are, like trying to figure out what your soft skills are, what your hard skills are, how you can communicate that in a focused manner. That like it's a stupid thing, but even resumes, like, I had a great mentor just last week. He's like, hey man, you got a resume? I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, okay, you have a master resume, but how many other resumes do you have? And I was like, I don't know. What do you mean? And he's like, if you apply for 100 jobs, you should have 100 resumes. Mm-hmm. You should have a focused resume for each time that you do that. Like your master resume is everything, but you should be copying and pasting and looking for what they're looking for and you communicating those soft skills and knowing how to but that's with everything. So, I've seen friends of mine as they're making this transition out and just watching them, come to me and go, bro, I had no idea how to actually conduct an interview. Like I thought that I was good and I was just going to slide off into this thing and be like, no, man, I'm a project manager. I own $2 billion of equipment and I was in charge of, small teams the entire time. And I'm an adept project manager. That is hollow. That is not a real thing, my guy. Like you gotta figure it out. What other big pitfalls have you seen, dudes hit? Like with your experience, what are some other things that are like, hey, we see it with everybody, start working on it now.
You know what you really want to, so the biggest pitfall I've seen is understanding what you bring to the table. Like,
perfect. Nice.
Guys do not realize their capacity of who they are. They don't realize what they bring to the table. Have you guys seen that meme? I don't think I can share my screen.
First of all, yes, of course I can.
Probably,
yes, I've seen the meme. I'm on the internet a lot, so
that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. No, it's a meme with the red Star Trooper or Stormtrooper,
right? And JTAC walking through.
Oh, yeah, he's walking in. He's like, oh, that guy must be a TACP or he must be a PJ or CCT or those kind of things. Or SR guy, right? It's funny that when we're in active duty, that's what it's like. Like I remember walking into a talk and they see, oh, Air Force, oh, TACP, like, oh yeah, guys, like, let me help you out, let me get you set up, that kind of stuff. And it's like because we bring not just saying clear hot, but we bring a level of critical thinking, a level of collaboration, a level of coordination. Mm-hmm. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, it's a level of honesty and integrity because there's so many times I look over at my, FSO captain sitting there just sucking life on a deployment because the S3 is they're bumping and he doesn't want to tell the S3 that he's wrong and that kind of stuff. And once again, I'm like, yeah, this is dumb. Why are we doing this? Why don't we do this instead? Like, that's a really great idea. Let's do that. And he's like, thank you so much.
Well, and it's another thing, but like you have the power of the brand, right? Like when I'm in the Air Force and when I'm in a room and if there's an emergency situation, they'll be like, what's up, PJ? Like you do this, like you have a power of a brand. When you step out, you have to find a way to brand yourself. You don't have the power of a brand. Now it's just you, it's your name, and it's how you present yourself. Like in the military, we always talk about the team. It's always the team did this. They were able to accomplish. I can hear you and you're talking. You spent 15 minutes in the first part of this, sit down talking about how proud you were of the team. And that's how you knew that you were ready to go. You wanted to pass the torch. It's completely flipped now. Then when you start making the transition, you have to teach people how to brand themselves and then actually like put their brand out there and say, this is who I am. This is what I bring to the table. And for a lot of guys, that's weird. Not for me, because I'm an inherent narcissist and a douchebag. Like I could talk about myself all day.
All right, I'm going to clip that one. Yeah. That one's going to be an IG reel.
You don't have to, baby. You won't have to. I'll show up on the meme pages. It's all good. Yeah, but like there's a lot of those things that are for real challenges. And it's not like the guys don't have the acuity. It's not like they don't have the education. They just don't know what they don't know. They've never trained in that space before.
Dude, that's so spot on, right? And to your resume point too, like the resume is important, but a recruiter will tell you they spend about 30 seconds on your resume. You got to have it. It's still part of the process. But where they really go to is places like LinkedIn. And so really harnessing that power of LinkedIn is such a massive, massive, massive tool. It's so much to the fact when I was doing my networking here in Colorado Springs with different people, I actually put on the QR code. My picture was kind of off to the side, but the QR code that went straight to my LinkedIn was right there. And then on the back side was my personal vision statement, my personal mission statement, and then my strengths, my Gallup strengths was on there too. And it's because it's one of those things, you're right, man, your brand of understanding who you are and what you bring to the table. And, for Eric Sauter, when I was up and coming as a young ROMAD, back when we had ROMADs back in the day, Eric Sauter, a really good friend of mine, he's like, this job's 85% coordination and 15% sexy. And if you want to do the sexy stuff, you got to do the coordination stuff. And dude, that's stuck for my entire
career. What great input. Yeah.
Dude, and that's funny is like when we get out, we think, oh man, I've literally had guys say, I just say clear hot. So what am I really bringing to the table? I just want to slap them.
Oh,
like, no, you do so
Wow.
much more. Before you say clear hot,
Jesus, man.
2 seconds, you've done all this collaboration, networking, coordination. Yeah, you can call it project management. I got my PMP too and all that kind of stuff. But like, you do so much more of just knowing how to get shit done. And believe it or not, I see that on some of these like job descriptions and requirements is like knows how to get shit done. I'm like, I've got a whole slew of bros that know how to get shit done. And that's where, just kind of understanding that. And it's to your initial question, getting guys to see that they can do so much more than, doing a trach in a helicopter or calling in an aircraft or landing aircraft or, doing all the crazy like stuff like that. It's more about seeing a problem and then knowing how to answer and solve that problem. I'm currently in a role where the title Solutions Advisor, right? Senior Solutions Advisor is my job title. And man, I love the company. It's awesome. And we were sitting here with one of our clients, I'm not going to say on here, but one of our clients, we're looking at like, all right, how do we do this? How do we approach this initial call and that kind of thing? And, I'm still in that noob phase, right? Like I'm the new guy on the team kind of thing. So I'm like sitting back and I'm like, hey, why don't we just ask them what their biggest problem is? I'm like, man, that's a question. And
wow,
so
crazy. Why don't we define the problem statement, get ourselves a mission statement with 5 W's and a Warno derived from the problem statement, and then start systematically attacking the problem? Do you guys want to do that? That's basic E4 stuff, but I'm in.
Has ever heard of the Ranger Handbook?
Maybe I'll bring it up to the next meeting. I'm going to get to meet everybody here soon.
Buy everybody a Ranger Handbook and just hand it out to everybody. Hey, this is a little light reading for everybody.
Just black out the word Ranger and just put professional handbook.
Yeah. Oh, that's genius. We got our first book, guys. That's what we're gonna have to do. Yeah. When you're in an L-shaped ambush at the office.
Yeah. This is called this is our professional drill 4. It's gonna be for close-up problems.
Yeah. Oh, genius.
Well,
all right, hashtag that. We got a trademark. Yeah.
I'm in, baby. Yeah. I'm in.
Well, let me ask you because old TC Tommy Case, wanted you to come do, be the association's kind of TAP director. So like, can you walk us through this program? You've got anybody in AFSPECWAR, because it's not like you guys are open to everybody.
Yep.
So, I'm thinking about retiring.
Yep.
Then I come to you. What happens?
Yeah. So, you gauge different people. Some people are like all in. Hey man, I need help. Can we sit down for an hour? So I spent a good amount of my time just sitting down one-to-one on Zoom calls, going through things. And the first thing that I do is we come up with your timeline, and we come up with your actual executable timeline. I had a really good friend of mine, another TACP. He took what I already had on Excel, and he made it where we just start plugging in dates. He made it, whenever you auto, basically,
like a reverse timeline. You just auto sum it so you can work it back.
Yeah, well, he does it where he automated it. So basically, type in the dates, how many days of leave do you have, and that kind of stuff, and it populates on the next sheet your actual timeline. So we would come up, Peaches, we'd come up with your timeline of like, all right, let's look and see what the truth data is. You've got 60 days of terminal leave. You've got 20 days of permissive house hunting and job hunting. I didn't know that. I kind of like overlooked that, but it's not just house hunting.
I didn't know that either.
I had no idea.
They'll think it's just, oh, well, you've got a house, so you don't need that. Like, no, it's house hunting, job hunting. It's like finding that you're getting an extra 20 days to transition. And then you've got your skill bridge and that kind of stuff and what you want to do with that. Skill bridge, guys, like, it's such a valuable tool to use for guys. I did my skill bridge. I was a chief of staff for a software company. Got it through shift.org. And that was a good experience. I didn't get picked up and hired on, but it was a good experience to kind of like gauge and see how well will I actually work out and do this kind of stuff. And I shared a story. They flew FSL to, it was a 95% remote. So we all went to Hudson, New York for our, get together, quarterly meetup. And we're at an Airbnb and I'm making a fire and they're like, oh, you learn how to make fires in the military. And I'm like, no, like I grew up in the South. I grew up in North Carolina. I made my fair share of fires. But like I did go to SEER school. That was pretty cool. Like, oh, SEER school, what was that like? And I was like, it was pretty fun.
I can't tell you, but they broke a bone.
Yeah. They were allowed to break one bone. But no, I said
one bone.
Yeah. I said something along. I was like, it was fun, just getting slapped around and kind of hit in the face and that kind of stuff wasn't the greatest, but whatever. And they're like, exactly, that was their reaction.
Yeah.
They're like, you say that so nonchalantly, like I can't relate at all to that. And I'm like, oh
yeah, bro, because that was Tuesday. Yeah. SEER school was a break in the pipeline. That's why, like, SEER school was a 17-day chill session where I got to go to the final point, about 3/4 of it, and drink a bottle of Crown. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was so it was one of those things where that allowed me to like, all right, can I be relatable? Like, am I that weird veteran guy talking about war stories and all this other stuff? And everybody's like, oh, don't talk to V because he's going to go PTSD.
He's messed up.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So that was a good lesson. So, but yeah, Peaches, we'd sit down and man, we'd come up with your timeline. One of the products that we came up with was, it's a PowerPoint slide, like a single PowerPoint slide. And that slide is going to be for your commanders and SCLs and supervisors. So on this slide, it's a timeline where it's got, the little graph at the top, and then it's got all your medical appointments on one side. It's got, and you can find this all on TACP-TAP.org, which is actually now about to be AFSW TAP.org.
Nice. Yeah. And we'll put it in the comments and get it out there, but I'm looking at it right now, man, step by step. You can just walk through it. It's even, there's a tab right here. Are you ready to take the first step? And that's awesome. And over here on those tabs, man, home, start with you, medical insurance, what to do with your field gear and kit. That's awesome, man. That is an awesome resource. So TACP, what's it?
We just got to get rid of the TACP part of it. I mean, it is.
We're rebranding it. Yeah, that's
nice.
Well, so then even the evolution, real quick on that, like when we went into phase 2 is when we had our first class. So let's get back to your original question. So we'd sit down, if we were doing one-to-one beforehand, we'd sit down for that hour, come up with your timeline, come up with your game plan. And then really, and this, I'm getting better with my approach to all this stuff and refining this process, is like just asking, like, what do you want to do? And most of the time guys are like, I don't know what I want to do. And then I'm like, all right, great. Get signed up for the Honor Foundation. Get signed up for Commit Foundation. The Honor Foundation, it's a interview process, or it's a whole process to get into that program. Not a hard process. It's actually really, really great. But there's a little bit of time because it's a class and you sit down on a virtual class, or if you're near a base, you can actually go to that class and go in person. The Commit Foundation is a good kind of like, they offer similar content, but you can start that as soon as like within a month of getting signed up for it. So you can get that process going and going and going. And the reason why I say get signed up for both is because you're going to have different angles, different perceptions, different questions, different things. And it's a big like ball of just defining who you are. And to your point, to branding yourself, to get to really understand, like, what is my brand? What do I want to do? And it helps you crawl out of that ignorant confidence cave into this whole, like, I can stand upright and still be that stormtrooper no matter wherever I go.
Yeah.
Which is kind of going back to that Kenneth Lindsay thing, still echoing and haunting me, him asking me that, like, hey, you want to be a leader? Bigger pond. So we would sit there and we'd go through that piece, and then either we'd schedule another follow-up meeting, another hour follow-up meeting, or I would get you signed up for this class. Now, this class was when we broke into phase 2. So it was 4 hours. Our first one was back in January. We had 4 hours and it was packed. Like, I had, I think, 8 or 10 or maybe 12 guests come in and speak. So I had the Honor Foundation, I had pre-veteran, I had a TACP that was a recruiter for the Border Patrol, and he approached me. He's like, bro, I'd love to like put this out there. And I'm like, all right, man. Like, I don't know how much luck you're going to get, but brother, absolutely. You're another TACP trying to do this. I'll let you share it all day long. He's like, well, I get it. Like, it's super tough right now, but they're giving bonuses and guys are making 6 figures coming into the Border Patrol. And I'm like, not me, but dude, I'm not going to say no. It may very well help out, a young guy or a young gal. I
mean, dude, if you want to still do BORTAC is still getting it.
They're getting after it, bro.
If you want to get it and you're going to make 6 figures,
bro. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we did that. We went through medical, telling guys about VSO and understanding what a veteran support officer is and what they do. Like, Matt Haley is my guy here in Colorado Springs, and he's with the Wounded Warrior Project. And I tell you what, whenever I'm, going to different meetings, 10th group had a meeting for the CARE Coalition, and I sat in there and Matt came and briefed. He's like, hey guys, my whole job is to take this plate of rocks that you have and I'll take just one rock off and take care of all this for you. And, from a medical piece, that's a daunting, like, hill to climb. Like you look at it going, what do I start? Like, how do I file a VA claim? Like, what do I do to get my benefits and everything else like that going? Matt took care of it all. And if you get the right VSO, helping you out and taking care of you, dude, they're going to make your life so much easier. And I can't say nothing but great things about him. I pointed a lot of other TACPs that I've gone connected with Matt, and have gotten, just taken care of and just world-class care. So we cover the medical piece, and then we go into like the resume, the LinkedIn piece, and discuss that and share those things. And the premise of this program isn't just to create another transition assistance program, right? Like you throw a rock, especially maybe it's because the algorithms on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever popping up on my computer, but there are so many programs out there like Hire Our Heroes and different things like that. And the challenge with that is that everybody's wanting to do the same damn thing. Yeah. And I'm like, no, like there was one group I got signed up for, and I think this is going to be my fourth program that I went through because I was testing things out and vetting it, and I signed up for it. I even paid the money out of pocket for it and everything else like that. And it was one of those, like, I'm done. Like I've transitioned out. I'm just tapped. Like I'm out. Like I'm not, I'm done with this. But it was the same content. I looked at the overview. I looked at it was the same content over and over again. So it was like, okay, I don't want this to be another, program and stamp where we try to get donors to give us money to get guys to the same content they're going through. What I wanted to be is a repository and a focal point for guys to show up, learn about all this information that's targeted and directed directly towards them and spoken in a language that they understand. And really, honestly, like my behind the scenes, well, it's not behind the scenes because now it's going on this podcast, but like it's getting guys to realize who they are and what they bring to the table. I think that is like my biggest passion is getting them to understand who they are and, collectively what we bring to the table. Because that's really, after World War II, little side note here, after World War II, a lot of the veterans got together and they started coming together and helping each other with businesses and helping each other with a lot of other different things. That's how we got USAA.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at all these red stormtroopers going, why are we not helping each other out and getting each other sick when we get out of the military, right?
Yeah.
We should be doing that even more so, getting each other's back. And it's a so that's part of the focus of the program. And really, you asked earlier about like the emotions of going up and down. That is a natural, normal thing for guys. They're going to have these moments where, especially for some of the young guys that are ETSing, they have these moments where I can just re-enlist because that's the easy button, right? Like I'm just going to re-enlist, just go and do that. I got my health care. I got everything else. I'm getting paid. Yeah, I'm not doing what I want to do anymore, but at least I'm getting paid. And so they're going to have those motions. Even I went through it as retirement going, all right, I can do this. This is going to be great. I'm top of the world. I can do whatever. Freedom. And then I'm like, oh God, oh man, like, what?
Boy, freedom sucks. Freedom comes with risk. Freedom comes with uncertainty. Freedom comes with a lot of things that I just don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. You know what it also doesn't? It doesn't come with EPR.
Paycheck.
1206s, EPRs.
Staff meetings, staff meetings and ops things.
V, I wanted to ask you though, just because I heard, and this is a couple of years ago. I don't know if you know Pat McNamara. He's been, prior CAG dude and all that kind of stuff, and he was talking about mental health.
Yeah,
upon retirement, like, and you see it. We've talked to plenty of people, plenty of our bros, especially at the age that all three of us are at. They get out and some hit it right off the bat. Others struggle with mental health. There's some depression in there a lot of times because kind of goes back to what I was talking about is we are all, in this community, we are all about service. We're about ourselves and the team as well, but like we are all about the team and service. Yeah. And there is a part of you that isn't doing that now because we don't do it for, the firefights or anything like that. We do it for the people next to us. Mm-hmm. And I forget that sometimes because then, I was just, Adam Veazey was just in town, talking to him and he's retired now. Mm-hmm. And you could tell as he's hanging around the trench at the weapons school and the TACP FTU, he's like, God, man, I miss this.
Yeah.
And it's just weird. Did you, and you don't have to, out yourself, did you experience any of that when you were going through? It's just kind of like, man, did I make the right decision?
Yes and no. So yes, in the capacity of the association, we did a pretty cool thing where we sponsored a football team and jerseys for a high school football team. They've gone through hurricanes and everything. There's some connections there from ASOS, at this particular school. And I got the opportunity to fly down and, present the jerseys and not present the jerseys, but speak about it and everything else. And we're standing there on the field, and it was a military thing. So they go, and I'm in my TACP polo shirt, and guys there in uniform.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit. Yeah. I'm never going to do that again. If I do, I don't want to be that weird vet guy standing in the stands saluting, right? Like, I was like, oh man. So that hit me in the face. Right. But I would say that going back to your original question, do you know when you know? Like, for me, at least my journey was very content. I came and I did what I wanted to do. And I put it this way: if you've ever worked really hard in the yard and you've worked your ass off building something, and then at the end of the day, you got a little glass of whiskey, you're watching a sunset, you're tired and just content, going, all right, I know I did everything I could today. I did everything I could to pass it on and get that stuff. Maybe it's the yoga kicking in, fellas. Maybe it's that kind of being at the present moment kind of thing.
Namaste.
Namaste. We'll stay
namaste
right.
Namaste in bed, dog.
Yeah. So, yes, in the sense that whenever I go back to the 13th and I talk to the guys and maybe ask me in a year or two, brother, maybe when I'm not doing as plugged in with the community as I am right now with doing the transition assistance, I'm still plugged in. As far as the fighting and everything else goes, it's just different. Like our generation, like I saw that writing on the wall when our boys were deploying to Syria or Poland. And it was like, especially Poland, it wasn't really fighting like we did. We fought, it was a lot different. And so I kind of accepted that terms that warfare's evolved and as much as I'd want to go back to that arena and do that kind of fighting to some degree, I know that it wouldn't be that way. And even the next war, because it's not if, it's when, right? Even the next war is going to be completely different than the previous war. Yeah, we'll have some lessons learned, but it's going to be different. Not everybody runs the option kind of thing. So,
for sure. And that's what's, I guess, frustrating. Totally changed the topics now. That's what's kind of frustrating for the JTAC community and the ground pounder community with the A10s is that, we know that it's going to be a different fight. The next one, 99% chance it is going to be a different fight. However, when we started talking about the different phases of war, phase 0 and phase 1, sure, there won't be A10s involved, right? Sure. Or likely won't be. But phase 2 and on, there absolutely will be. And to think that there's not going to be a ground war, and I am fully admitting I am putting myself out here right now by saying that. But that's just kind of the reality of it.
Well, and it's one of those things too, where it goes back to what I was trying to do before I got out, was just getting everybody educated. Like, we should take a knee now and study our adversaries so intimately that we understand, and that we have you can have all the AI in the world, but we hacked that shit. Now you just got people. And if your people are smart and you're able to execute, and your NCOs are smart and able to execute without your orders, and you have your mission, commander's intent, then man, that's a pretty lethal fighting force right there. And I'd much rather be on that side than versus somebody going, hold on, what does computer say? That kind of thing.
Well, I mean, our strength is our people. That is what makes us different than everyone else is our people. And I'm not just talking about AFSPEC war. I'm talking about in general, our people is what makes us different.
Yeah. And that's the magic. But going back to our people, right, and the resilience aspect. So the PJ Foundation. So we had our class in January, and then the week after that, we met for the Air Force Coalition, Air Force Special Warfare Coalition. So I don't know if you guys know or not, you probably do, but all the foundations, associations are slowly starting. They're about right here. They're not here yet. They're about right here. They're slowly coming together.
Yep.
I'll be honest, guys, I'm hoping this program, this Air Force Special Warfare TAP program, brings us even closer together. Because one of the things I learned is that the PJ Foundation has got a resilience program that is nobody else is doing.
Dude, it's robust, man. They're just about to do, I want to say in March, they're doing another backcountry retreat. I know the messages just came out. We just put them out there, but man, those guys at the Pararescue Foundation are just absolutely crushing it. We actually partnered with them on Instagram during January to kind of get the word out about, what becoming a PJ and the pipeline and stuff. But man, their program is just established and robust. And, Tony Negron over at SEI and, some of those other bigger names, they're doing great things. I've talked to guys that have come back off those backcountry retreats, whether it be in Conway or Colorado or, wherever.
Yeah.
It changes their lives. It's legitimately life-changing.
Which is, I had a similar emotion like that. The October, right before that November, I announced I was retiring. I went on a fishing trip, and I needed it, man. I was wound pretty tight, and just kind of needed that 1 week reprieve. And I'm sitting around all these SEALs and Rangers, and like, hey V, you're still switched on right now, right? I was like, oh man, I'm relaxed, dude. I'm having a good time. They're like,
yeah, what are you talking about? Yeah.
They're like, you're setting up chairs, and you're like doing this stuff, and you're waking up at 6:30, and you're on time and like 5 minutes early. And I'm like, huh. Okay.
That's a good point.
I was like, oh, okay. All right. So it was one of those things where I was just, as I was fly fishing and learned how to fly fish on the Green Mile up in Casper, Wyoming. Man, it was one of those things. I'm like, yeah, like what am I doing with my life? Right. Like if you ever want a sobering moment and like, your mortality, take an Excel spreadsheet, make all the columns and rows the exact same size, and then make it 52 columns across. And then go about 76 rows down, and then fill in how many weeks you've been alive, and see how much white space is at the bottom.
Like, yeah, it's not much.
It's not much, fellas. Like, I joke around with my wife; she hates this, but I'm like, babe, anything past 50 is extra credit. So you got me for like another 12 years, kind of thing, right? Like, I've lived a hard life. My uncles didn't really live that long either, so. But it's one of those things, man, from the resilience aspect of it. Like, how are we improving the quality of our life? And you've got these guys that, one guy, I'm not going to share his name, but he just got back from deployment. And before, this guy was one of those guys, like young tech sergeant, just getting after it, crushing life. Like, he was a physical specimen, but also just had a brain on him that was able to get after it. And he always worked hard. I had him in my office here the other day, and we were talking, and I just saw it in him. I just saw that, like, just tired, just needs a break, just needs a reset. Yep. And he's like, dude, I'm done. Like, I'm getting out of, 10 years, I think it is. And I'm, so you're looking at it and having compassion for this brother going, man, that sucks. Like, dude, okay, let's get you some help, bro. Let's get some of this. And so the resilience aspect of things, and I went through the master resilience training too. So getting a little bit sprinkled out when I was in PME, man, I just tip of the hat, just actually not even tip of the hat, brother. We've actually got part of our program, our Air Force Special Warfare program, has got a resilience coordinators on there, because what we want to do is take a guy and give him that week or give him that, like, that time. And there's a slew of programs out there to help guys out. And sometimes they go supported, sometimes they don't go supported, or, not supported, filled. Like, they'll have open slots and they try to fill them last minute. So to get a guy on a fishing trip or hunting trip or, surfing trip or whatever it's out there, and just give them a week just to decompress. Well, it does a couple of things. One, it allows them to have like a little bit more of a foundation to build off of, right? Like a place to kind of go to and just kind of be steady and be cool, calm, and collected. But then the other thing that it does is it also, if they are wanting to stay in, and let's just say, if he wants to re-enlist to stay in, well, man, what a hell of a return on investment, right? And that's where, just like for Pararescue Foundation, all the emotions aside, from just a strictly business point of view, yeah, that's a hell of a return on investment. If you can kick a guy away for 2 weeks or so, and he comes back just reset and ready, just piss and vinegar and get after it again, and he's got a good quality of life, you're not exploiting him or doing anything bad, but his quality of life is dramatically improved, and just his family as well. Man, what a hell of a return on investment on that piece. So, from our program's perspective, it's not so much return on investment. It's more so just posturing these guys to have a place where they can go and just have a place of refuge, have a place to just stop and think. When I was when we were at Alabama at Montgomery, and for the NCO Academy after the hurricane, so I was a first sergeant, director of education. So I'd have students come and talk to me, and I actually had a rescue gunner come in my office, and this grown man's crying. But he's like crying and laughing. He's like, I don't understand what's going on with me right now. And so what happened is during, I found out he was on a deployment, like three month deployment, came back, had his 1 week R&R, then went on another 2 week TDY for some kind of training event with for Navy. And then they're like, oh, you got to go to NCIA. You're leaving next week. And so just boom, 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 going. And it could have been to his fault too, because there's guys like that. And I was one of them for a little bit, just volunteering, right? It's addictive, right? It's a very intoxicating career field to be in Air Force Special Warfare. And not literally like booze addicting. I mean, that happens. But collectively it's an intoxicating kind of career field. So, but he was at the bowling alley and somebody dropped the ball, bam, right behind him, and it startled him, it scared him or whatever, and it freaked him out. I'm like, well, yeah, dude, of course this is normal. Like, you've been going 100 miles an hour, and then you come to the school and you pull up the e-brake at this school, and now your brain is allowing yourself to process this stuff, and then kind of like behind the scenes, just you're letting your guard down, you're becoming a little more relaxed, you're kind of like not really stressed, and then bam, stress happens, and it just kind of startles you. And it kicks them in this like spiraling kind of thing along those lines. Yep. So giving those guys that resilience aspect of things. That's one of the things that we're bringing onto the team to get coordinators. We've got 2.5. One of the guys is double dipping as my coach's manager. And then the other two are actually, one is a Naval Special Warfare guy from the Honor Foundation. I put the post out there in the alumni Slack group, and I had a couple SEALs are like, yeah, brother, I'm already helping out a couple TACPs. What can I do to help you out? What can I help out the community?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and it goes back to that building this like USAA, right? For we're collectively working together and making things better. Get back to the programs. You know, I mentioned it too. We have a coaches manager now. We have a class scheduler. I've got a marketing manager, Dan Horgan, good friend of mine. I knew him whenever we were going to the schoolhouse together. Dan is now our marketing guy helping us out. And then we got a career developer. He's a retired first sergeant working for, he was working with the ASOS, and that's how we ended up knowing him, Mike Skinetsky. And he's helping out with like actually getting guys like their resumes, LinkedIn, other training things going on, and just kind of pointing them in the right direction. But one of the things we did I learned from the Honor Foundation is they had a coaches program. So you go through your one-day cohort, or one-day class, which, by the way, we're in the process now of trying to get this class where it's going to be like you don't go to your base TAPS. You come to Air Force Special Warfare TAPS. And once we get that done, guys, like it's going to be perfect for guys because they'll come to this class on Zoom, and now they go through our TAPS class. We're speaking life into them, getting them set up with programs, getting all this stuff set up for them, and then they go off versus, you know, that 4-hour class we had in January. I had from everywhere from senior airmen to lieutenant colonels coming to me saying, dude, I just went through TAPS this past week. I got more out of your 4 hours than I ever did out of this entire like TAPS program. And
nice.
They're doing their best, but you know, it's a lowest common denominator, and you know, they don't have the intimacy. They're like, they can't even spell TACP, you know, like they don't even understand what a CCT is or a PJ does.
Yeah. No one does. It's provocative.
No one does. Yeah. It gets the people going.
Well, what is it? Tommy Case says he tells he would tell Army when they go on post that what TACP stood for is Tactical Assassins Commanders Program. That's what TACP stood for. And he's like, what? He's like, yeah, man. And he just drove off. So you can
later, dude.
Yeah.
Later, bro.
Yeah. But you know, in a nutshell, that program is just holistically, and it's not just for guys transitioning out. It's just helped a guy get in a JFO program. He's been out since 2014. He's now working in a job where and we were talking, and me and him went to the schoolhouse together. And you know, for much like you guys, like the attrition rate's pretty high, right? We started out with 42 and only 12 graduated. And this is one of the 12 guys that I, graduated with. And we're talking, and he's like, oh, man, I can't do that. Like, you think I really got a shot? And he's like saying stuff where I just want to slap him. Like, yes, bro, you've got a shot. One, nobody wants to live in Fort Sill. You already live in Oklahoma.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, two.
Sorry if you guys live out there, but no, I'm good.
No, they don't have electricity. They can't hear podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's one of those things where just helping those guys out. Another guy, he just shared with me, good friend of mine, he's got picked up for L3, and he's going to be working for L3 for those guys. And, he went in there and he told me, he's like, bro, I went in there with a certain level of confidence and a certain level of understanding. He's like, thank you so much for speaking and sharing the things you shared with me and that kind of stuff. And I don't share that for ego. Obviously, your ego is not your amigo, right? I share that because there's a process to this whole thing, and it really works, guys. Like, it truly, truly works in the sense of just helping guys out. And I had to do the same thing when I didn't get picked up for my internship on SkillBridge. I was like, oh well, shit. I got to practice what I preach. Like, I gotta start doing my resumes. I gotta start getting connected to LinkedIn and everything else like that. And then I end up sharing it, and a lot of it, what you're gonna find is it's not what you know, it's who you know. So. That's exactly the biggest thing with that piece too. So yeah, that's kind of man, so much I can speak more to. And,
I'm sure.
Rambling on, but
no, man. Well, Dude, I try not to cough into the mic here. We definitely appreciate you coming on, and a sincere thanks for everything that you are doing with the AFSPECWAR TAPS, and a shout out to all those other foundations. You know, the Commit, the Honor Foundation, Wounded Warrior, the Soft Care Coalition, the Special Operations Transition Foundation.
Yeah, Special Operators.
All those. Like, there's some great people doing great work out there for people that serve their country. So thanks again for what you're doing. And for everybody else out there, please like, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell, leave us a review, all that kind of good stuff. And from here, namaste.
Namaste.
I love it.